Hello everyone, it's the Grand Strategy Nerd bringing you our brand new series here with Hearts of Iron 4. This is Fascist Mexico. So here we are in Hearts of Iron 4 from Paradox Interactive, and we are going to start in 1936. It's basically the best way to build up Mexico's armaments and to make them fascist so that we're not trying to struggle to keep up in World War II. So if you have never picked up a Hearts of Iron franchise before and you just got here because of all the hype, well, thank you, one, for coming. But two, this is, whereas previous Paradox Interactive games such as Crusader Kings 2, Europa Universalis 4, Victoria 2, they all focus more on nation building, and there is warfare in there, but mostly nation building and role-playing characters or role-playing countries. This is straight warfare. There's some diplomacy in here, but it's mostly just a means to an end. This is all about war. So with that, we're going to start off in 1936, as I said, and let's start nerding it up. So we are going to not choose any of these countries. We're going to select our own. Obviously, we're going to be Mexico. Now, I did want to let you know that I am using full NATO symbols on this, and that is just more of how I learned to play it in my later years. All right, so what we have to do first is we're going to actually set our national focus first. And because we are non-aligned as a party, as you see here, the PRM, the Partido de la Revolución Mexicana, they are non-aligned. There are some communists, very few fascists, and there's some Democratic Party, but mostly it's just a non-aligned, don't really care sort of thing. So we are going to move us into a fascist state. And in order to do that, I'm sorry that I went too quickly there. These are our national focus trees. This is the generic focus tree because Mexico wasn't big enough and no one's made a mod yet for Mexican focus tree. This is what we have right now. And so we are choosing the political effort. And every national focus takes only 70 days. So that's good because that allows us to help speed things along. So the political effort basically allows us to choose between a collectivist ethos or liberty ethos. So do we want democracy or do we want not democracy, basically? So we have to start with the ruling ethos first, though. Let's go to the research here. And because Mexico is so far behind, we want to start researching some of these basic things like basic machine tools. And we'll research electronic mechanical engineering. Now, the reason we're doing this is that if you saw there, we have a negative, it decreases the research time for all research by 2%. We already have a negative 5%. That's based off of our focus here of being an export focus market. We could move to a free trade, which would decrease research time by 10%. But we don't want to waste our points here. You see our cost up here of political power. That 150 we need right off the bat in order to get a fascist minister. So you'll see what I mean there. All right, let's go to civilian factories. What do we need first? Well, biggest and best thing that we need right now is that we need more what used to be IC, industrial capacity. What we need is more military factories, though. So we're going to build it here in Jalisco. We don't really have enough. We can only really do one. We have four factories going to consumer goods. That's our tradable goods, and 4 going to the construction we just set up right there in Jalisco. We could queue up some more, but it takes so long that we're not really going to lose it if we don't. All right, next we have to worry about creating enough material for our men, for our military. So as you see, we're stuck on basic infantry equipment, and we'll go into the research panel a little bit more about that once we start getting past the initial 2 of basic machinery and mechanical electric engineering, or whatever that was. But right now we're stuck with basic infantry equipment, which looks like a bolt action and a bayonet. But doing that, we increasing and using up all of our military factories, which we did here. We assigned all 3 of our military factories to producing this infantry equipment. We are now in a deficit of having 4 steel. So we could go without it, but that would slow down production. So we are going to go to Argentina, who just so happens to have 4 steel, and it's going to use up one of our factories. That's okay. And so we have that covered now. Now we also had divisions that need to be trained. And I messed around with this, getting rid of all these divisions and moving to Cav as you would in HO and Hearts of Iron 3 in order to attack the US. But the political system is set up so differently in Hearts of Iron 4 that you really can't force your way into a war with the US as quickly as you could in Hearts of Iron 3. You can't align with a faction quickly. I mean, we're going to do that through national focuses, or national foci, I should say, and by improving relations with the fascist countries. But in order to get a fascist Mexico, it actually is going to take a long time. We have to be able to get enough fascists to then have a coup, and it just sort of steamrolls from there. So it's going to take a little bit of time here, but what I hope to be is just a bastion of a bastion of fascism out here, and maybe once the fascists declare war on the UK, we're going to have to worry about Canada, who is more than likely going to ask for military access through the US to attack me. But we can at least attack the UK here, and because we don't have any ships, we're that far behind, we can't really do anything else past there. So what we can do first, though, is we have divisions. We don't have any divisions in the queue, but what we can do is add an army, which we're going to do here. And now the Mexicans only have 2 men, 2 generals. One has no traits, and the other has a Desert Fox trait. However, this allows, with a skill of 3, that's pretty good. So, and now we're going to choose, where's our other division? All of our infantry. Include them in the infantry army. And then we're going to start to exercise them. This raises their experience and also gives us army experience then. So then we're going to do the same thing for our Cav units. We're going to create a new army with them. And we're going to take these guys and add them. And then we're going to start exercising them to get their experience up. So that is all of our forces. Yep, they are part of the army. Just making sure. And then we can bring other men in here, and we can start training. When we start training 4, I think that should be good. And then we can just go right here and say that when we get them, I want to deploy them to... I guess they're where that division already is. So we're going to go on really fast here. If it's going to let me. There we go. That was taking forever. So we're going to go on extremely fast here just because there's not much to do with Mexico until we start and get moving. The Hearts of Iron series is really, really close to me because this was the first Paradox game I ever played when I was in high school. Was it high school or middle school? Hearts of Iron came out, I don't know when. I'm going to say it's in high school. And I didn't know whom Paradox was at the time. I was just in 9th grade. If anyone knows the dates, that would be back in the 90s sometime is when Paradox released the original Hearts of Iron. And I just played it all night long. Just hours and hours and hours spent. I even did a Mexican playthrough and used all the cheat codes to take over the US. Didn't really game the system because I used the cheat codes. But yeah, so I went through and just played lots and lots of different ones, different scenarios and stuff. And then I just sort of got away from it as I got older. I got more into the console games. But then when I came back to, and I think I picked up Hearts of Iron 2 sometime along that way. Played it for a little bit, didn't really like like it though. I didn't like the way that the it was set up in the production of having companies and stuff. I didn't like that. I didn't like the corporation, what I want to say, the corporation mechanic that they had in it. I just didn't like it. I'll continue the story after we go into diplomacy. I realized we were gaining our political power. So now we want to start to have good relations with the Reich and Italy. And actually El Salvador, because they are close to us. But we can't. I guess we don't really have a 10. It just looks like a 10. There we go. And what's annoying here is that they're already fascists, so they don't have to worry about... Oh, we ran out of political power. Alright, I had too many. Whoops. Okay, well, I guess I can't do all of them at one time. That was my fault. My bad. But at least we got them up a little bit. Alright, we're just going to do... Once we get over 20 again... Well, once we get past 10, we'll start influencing the Reich again. So El Salvador is already fascist, so they don't have to worry about going through the whole political rigmarole to do that. Alright, there we go. And we'll be able to sustain that. It was unsustainable how many I was doing. How much influencing I was doing. So as I was saying, as I got back into Paradox Games, starting with Crusader Kings 2, some 5 years ago, with that's when I realized, oh hey, that game that I loved so much as I was a kid, these guys made it. And so I downloaded Hearts of Iron 3, and as everyone else, I hated it at the start. I just got back into it just to get into Hearts of Iron 4, and already just in my limited amount of time with it, it's already great. It's fantastic. It's smooth. It's slick. It really is fantastic. Okay, everyone. Sorry about that. You'll see that things have dramatically changed. I realized as I was recording there, I'm just going to let you know that my frame rate was really ridiculously low, like 6. So I'm going to keep it because I was watching through the video just a little bit, and it's okay now. And right now we're at around 20 to 28, well, really 25 to 28 frames per second here. But so I had to drop down some of the graphics stuff. So don't hold that against me. Hold that. Well, I mean, you can if you want to. I mean, I bought the best system that I could afford at the time, and this is what we have to deal with. So this is just such an amazing game. Anyways, yeah. So I'm really happy to be playing this. Ooh. And I hope you enjoy the journey of a fascist Mexico. So here we are. The remilitarization of the Rhineland. Germany has stationed troops in the Rhineland territory close to the French border in clear violation of the Treaty of Versailles. The local population cheered the German soldiers on, while the diplomatic reactions from France and Britain have so far been muted. It is no more than the Germans walking into their own backyard, a political commentator in Britain observed. It is worrying, but that's okay. I didn't want to go that far. I think maybe a day passed and I didn't want it to there. That was my fault. Anyways, political effort is done. We got plus 120 political power, which is awesome. So now we're going to go to collectivist ethos, which will move us towards fascist or communist. I'm sorry. It'll gain national spirit of collectivist ethos, which grants a daily democracy support of negative 0.02. So 2% less democracy support once this passes. But now we can go into diplomacy, go to those fascists, improve relations with Italy now. And so how are we looking here on our... these are almost done. Exercising gives us army experience, which we can then use to update the divisions or anything of that nature that we needed to worry about. Here's the Spanish Civil War. Civil war has erupted in Spain. Several generals seeking to overthrow the current government in Madrid have issued a pronunciamiento, and a large portion of the Spanish armed forces have answered their call to arms. This right-wing nationalist faction has occupied much of Spain, including the overseas territories. Loyalist forces and volunteers have assembled under the left-wing Republican government, determined to resist the push to their last breath. Alright. And if I had enough, if I had done this correctly, which I had done in my other playthroughs, I would only be influencing Italy so that I could influence national Spain, but oh well. Oh well. That was my own fault for not doing that. So this is going to be a lot of waiting around in this playthrough because we got to wait for all this stuff. We're not that advanced of a nation, so we need to we really need to wait and bide our time. Alright, so all the South American countries down here are guaranteed by America. How nice of them. Problem is, I want to kind of try to start attacking them. So, who knows what we're going to do here with America. Our main goal, end goal, is to take back the the American Southwest. So I can bring it here. We can actually, I can actually set this as pin the area here. But this is basically the American Southwest. But we want to take it back. Try to take back California, actually the West Coast as well. What all was once Mexico. It's going to be really hard to do. I'm playing this on regular as well. We're just going to see how far we can get. Alright, so we finished with basic electronic mechanical engineering, if I call it by its right stuff. And now we're going to move into weapons research. Here's basically the research tree that I can do. Weapons only takes 140 days. I could actually do support equipment, but I don't really have any need for support equipment right now. I did it before in a little bit of playthroughs, and I came to realize that there was no need for support equipment right now. Even though it only take 93 days, it's just going to waste time, so we're just going to move right into having better weapons. And when I say that I've gone through this and done this before, it just means really just the starting out stages. There's going to come a point in time, probably a couple episodes into this, where I just have no idea what the heck's going on whatsoever. And that's when the real fun begins. I don't expect this series to have a success. I want it to more than anything. That would be awesome if we can attack the U.S., but I just don't know how well that's going to work. All we can do is try, though. Alright, so we're done with the Reich. Stop improving that. We go back where we can now start influencing nationalist Spain. They are fascist, just like we want to be fascists. Our unity is really high compared to the U.S. You see that their unity is only 60%. So that's actually pretty good. If we wanted to start a coup, which we could, and I've tried it before, we could do that. But the problem is we just don't have the industrial capacity. We don't have the amount of factories needed in order to produce enough weapons for whatever state we would choose to host a fascist rebellion. So we got to wait on that, and hopefully we can do it before the U.S. gets too far into the war. What the hell? I don't think Lake Okeechobee is actually that big, guys. That's a bit much. Nice that you showed it, but I don't think it's that big. There's the mighty Susquehanna, and I live. No, it's not telling me where it is. I think this is what they're trying to make Mechanics, Cumberland County. That's where I live. I'm sure you all wanted to know that, but now you do. And now you can't unknow it. You're finding out so much about the Grand Strategy Nerd. Alright, so we are almost getting done here. If I wanted to, I could rush out any unit that had the amount of any kind of upgrade. I'm sorry, that had any type of equipment. If their equipment was at 1%, it means that I could deploy all 4 of these instantly, and then they'd just get their equipment while they're on the map. But I'm not going to do that. I don't have any need to. Alright, we got the collectivist ethos now. So now we're going to choose national nationalism focus, which brings us into a fascist support of 10% daily. So that is excellent. And so, yeah, we're going to be fascist Mexico here pretty soon. But it's what we do with our fascism. That's what really matters. Let's go to basic machine tools here. All right, so you see that we've got to the basic machine tools. And now this is where things really get hairy. Like, what do we really need to do? We have no navy to speak of. We don't even have a naval base. So what do we want to focus on here? We're going to focus on artillery. We're going to do our support artillery. And I don't really think we need to do any of these anti-tank or anti-air. Or do we go to support battalions? Or do we research motorized stuff? This is where it gets really hairy. We got to figure this out. So support equipment gives it 93. If we click for details here, bring radios, jeeps, pontoons, and other equipment used to support troops. And reliability is 80%, increases our production cost by 4. Or do we want to go into the research of a great tank, or a great war tank, which would put us kind of far behind, but do we need to know that? Now, like the U.S. already has this. They already know that. And a lot of the other countries do. Could we get if we become fast friends with the Reich, could we get some of that production? I don't know. I never really experienced that in Hearts of Iron 3, so maybe they worked on this better. Or do we want to focus on land doctrine? And this may be beneficial for us because we're able to either look at maybe the mobile warfare or the superior firepower. Which one is best for us? So mobile warfare is focus on speed and maneuver to cut off and disorganize enemy forces. Or do we want to focus on superior firepower, which focuses on throwing shells, not men, at the enemy? Our manpower is precious, bullets are cheap. And this is especially true for Mexico because we only have so much manpower. We're not a very populous country, so we need to worry about, we can't just create division after division like the U.S. can. So do we want to have really good divisions? Or do we want to look at grand battle plan doctrine? Extensive planning and preparation before engaging in battle is the key to success. Now it gives us stuff: defense, organization, grand assault. We don't really want to do mass assault. This is really more for the Soviet Union. We can just throw men at the problem. I was thinking before that we should really focus on mobile warfare, but I don't think that we should go for a rush to attack the U.S. It was really easy in Hearts of Iron 3 to do that because you could create a custom setup. You could get rid of all of the pieces on the board, so to speak. You could bring all of your units that were originally placed back into the hopper. And then you could deploy, Mexico would always start off with 5 infantry divisions and 3 cav divisions. But you could create a custom game scenario where you take all those out, and then what you bring back onto the playing field are like 18 cavalry divisions. And then you keep on building a little bit, and then you bring your line to the fascists much easier than you do in this one, and you can attack the U.S. by end of 1937, 1938 to try to catch them off guard. You can't really do that in this, from what I've seen so far. So maybe the mobile warfare isn't the way to go. I think we should look at the superior firepower doctrine. It's 279 days, but this does give us an immediate benefit to soft attack stuff. And so what we're really going to use this for, we only have 2 slots right now. We're going to use one for long-term research projects and one for short-term research projects. We don't want to load up on 2 long-term research projects and then just basically be waiting and waiting and waiting. All right, what did we? Oh, I was going to say. All right, so let's look at our division makeup here. Oh, we deployed one. Okay, I was going to say, what the hell is going on? Include him. So Luis Farrell can only command 24. We could promote him, and so we would have to we would want to do that then too if we needed to. All right. So what is in the division de Infanteria? Well, we don't have any support. We could do support artillery, but we're not creating any support artillery. We're worrying more about getting all of our infantry set up. We are going to have to start worrying about artillery, though, as we're focusing on it. But let's wait a little bit, just a little bit longer, maybe into October of 1936, and then we'll really focus on making the artillery and pumping that out. So we can come up here to the division equipment. You see that we're still just using basic infantry equipment. We haven't researched newer weapons, I should say. So we're just going to have to wait on that. Oh, we can modify our government. This is where we can now bring in. We have 150 points, so we now can bring in Luis G. Quintana, who is the fascist demagogue. Actually, I don't know how to say G, the letter G in Spanish, so that's why I said it as the American G. Alright, so this now triggers the Fascism on the Rise event. Mexican people have a noble history they've been made to forget under the weak and cowardly rule of PRM. They claim to represent the people, but can so feeble a state enforce the will of the people? Only by spilling the blood of these traitors can we fulfill our destiny. The fascist speakers in Mexico have made no secret of what they think of our current rulership and political system. Speeches like these have tapped into a public dissent that is particularly pronounced in the more conservative sections of the military. So now we have a choice. Do we want to have the higher-ups, the political party become more fascist, or the younger people become more fascist and basically have a coup? Internal support for a coup or outside? Let's go with internal support. I think that'd be a good way to go. As you see it ticking up here, we now have fascist support growing daily, which is excellent. Now we just have to rip ourselves even more and more away from this non-aligning. So let's see where else we can go here. Italy's all good. Let's start improve our relations with El Salvador, as they're the other fascist country down here in South America. And there's our nationalism focus. Alright, so with nationalism focus, our daily fascism support grows by 10%, as we said. So that's good. And now we're going to go with militarism. Or should we? Or should we look at, maybe an industrial effort? Or an army effort, as we're going to start to really build up our equipment and artillery. I just want to look at stuff here. Infantry and support our artillery. It's land doctrine stuff. Or should we look here in the industrial effort and really look at getting military slots? Where do we get more research slots? I don't know. I think it's somewhere else we get more research stuff. So let's choose here. That's a 50% bonus for land doctrine. Militarism gives us recruitable pop goes up. Army experience goes up by +20, and then we can send volunteer forces. So let's do militarism. Will be our last fascist, our last political national focus here until we build up some of our military. But we're going to end it right here. So I hope everyone enjoyed this first episode of Hearts of Iron 4 Fascist Mexico. If you did like the video, feel free to click on that like button. Feel free to share it wherever you want to. Social media, Facebook, same thing as social media. On bathroom walls if you want to. Write out the link on a bathroom wall. That'd actually be really funny. If you write out the link on a bathroom stall wall, or through the mail, you can share it wherever you want to. Go ahead and share it if you liked it, and click on that thumbs up if you liked it as well. And if you have not yet subscribed to me, you can click on the red subscribe button either below or at the end of this video. Until next time, everyone, good night and good luck.